We move away from Motorland Aragon and over to the Estoril circuit here in Portimao, Portugal. Welcome to round 11 of the World Superbike Championship in 2025. The green light is about to go on, the session is about to get underway, and we are about to have 45 minutes of action with the riders out there on the circuit, and this is going to be free practice number 2. So as the green light goes on, let's send it downstairs to our commentary team at TNT.
Here's Nicola Bulliger around the final corner, turn 13. Just as you start to open the gas, look at the rear come around and the wheel spin on that rear Pirelli tyres. Chaz Davies, he's taking all that footage in as well, just to see if he can help the riders out after this session.
That is an apparatus and a half, isn't it, there for Chaz Davies? But yes, please excuse us for talking about Ryan Vickers while we've been looking at pictures, as you described the replays there anyway, James, of Toprak and Budiger. We wanted to make sure we got that news to you all as quickly as possible. It's just been released in the last few minutes, and as you saw there, Daniele Petrucci, we mentioned it during the Supersport session, didn't we? A right hand injury sustained in the gym. Very, very unfortunate, with some elastic apparatus he was using. Ended up striking his right hand on a metal girder, as James was telling us earlier on. One of the screws that was already in that right hand of Petrucci has actually damaged the bone. These are the tyres for this weekend. We've got SC1 development front, that's a new one, along with the SC2, which is the harder one, and on the rear, a standard SC0, and you just see below, look there, we've also got 2 development options, the SCX, which is the softer of the 2 in regular races, but the SCQ, the pink marked SCQ, you're only allowed to use that in practice if you want to, but then for the rest of the weekend, you're only allowed to use that one in Superpole qualifying and the Superpole race. You're not allowed to use, by the rules, the pink tyre in the long races. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with lap times. And Toprak, of course, will be aiming for a first ever Estoril treble. Bulliger will be trying his utmost to stop that from happening.
I think the Jonathan Ray's outright lap record from 3 years ago, Greg, could be under threat with this new qualifying tyre. We will see. It's a 35.346 it is for Jonathan Ray in 2022, obviously on the Kawasaki, so keep your eye out for that. It was a 36 flat this morning out the box, and Toprak Razgatlioglu was absolutely flying, but Nicola Bulliger was only a couple of tenths off, so the battle is on. 36 points it is in the championship. Lead for Toprak. Can Nicola Bulliger, like in Aragon, get the better of him and reduce that gap even further? But Toprak, he looks relaxed, doesn't he, in the garage? He looks confident, and so he should. He won both long races comfortably last year. It's a track that he loves, and it's a track that the BMW seems to go well on as well. And there's confirmation of who's going to replace him. It's the MotoGP star from Portugal, and how fitting, as we are here in Estoril, to announce that Miguel Oliveira will come to the factory BMW squad, into World Superbikes and into this team.
This is Sven Bloch, the head of BMW Motorrad Motorsport, who's overseen this signing in collaboration, of course, with the likes of Chris Gonshaw, the technical director, and of course the owner of SMR. Sean Muir Racing, Sean Muir himself, they've won the title before, don't forget, twice in BSB with Tommy Hill in 2011, and then again with Josh Brooks, his first of 2 so far in 2015. And it's going to be really interesting to see, because they are essentially, in the way it's all panned out, swapping seats, aren't they? Toprak to the Pramac Yamaha in MotoGP alongside Jack Miller, and Oliveira to the BMW Superbike alongside Petrucci, and then another interesting signing. And this is an interesting signing. Xavi Vierge to join Yamaha in 2026 after 4 seasons with Honda. Now, interestingly, James, on the Sunday, I was going through Instagram in Aragon. I was back in my hotel room, working away on my computer, and I was going through Instagram, and there was a quote from Nicolo Calapo, who was on the left-hand side of that picture. Remember, he's now one of the bosses at Yamaha, and he was saying, we firmly believe that Xavi Vierge is one of the best riders in World Superbikes. And replying to that from the official World Superbike channel was Jan Onchu, with 4 or 5 laughing emojis, and I noticed it was then deleted within an hour or 2. So clearly Yamaha had a word with Jan and Ju and said, you better take that off, it makes you look a bit silly, because Jan and Ju, of course, had been hoping for that ride alongside Locatelli. So he clearly felt he'd been hard done by there, the Turkish rider.
Well, it was a big quote for someone that's never had a World Superbike podium. Let's not forget that. There's your confirmation on the screen who is going to be riding for this Honda team next year. Jake Dixon is coming from Moto2. brilliant news that we're going to be replacing a British rider here, Jonathan Ray, with another British rider of Jake Dixon. We welcome him. He's 5th in the Moto2 Championship with a chance of finishing in the top 3 before the end of the season. We wish Jake all the very best with that before he comes to our paddock. We will welcome you with open arms, Jake, and we hope that your brilliant personality will bring a little bit of showmanship to this show here, and also some Cat-Chantra, the first ever Thai rider to race in World Superbikes. He's obviously 26 in MotoGP at the minute, but he's only scored 6 points this season in MotoGP because of his right knee ligament operation and the arm pump operation that he had. Unfortunately, it's not quite worked out in MotoGP, and Diogo Moreira will replace him in the LCR Honda squad next year with Johan Zarco, obviously, as his teammate. So the music is just about stopping, isn't it, in MotoGP and World Superbikes. Interesting news about Ryan. Will Ryan get another opportunity maybe in the MGM Ducati team or the Go 11 team? Because we know that Iannoni's confirmed he's not going to be with that team next year. So is there still some possibilities for Ryan inside the World Superbike paddock? Or is the rumour of him going to Paul Burt's team in BSB? Because it sounds like Scott Redding might be on his way to Honda. Will all of that happen like we think it's going to, or will there be some surprises still to come?
Well, sometimes we hear these rumours and we hear them months before they actually are made official, and they were true all along. Sometimes it was sort of half true, other times it is total rubbish and you end up wondering where on earth it came from. I have known riders, journalists, team principals and other people completely fabricate stories in the past to see what sort of reaction it gets and generate some talk. But here he is then, Ryan Vickers, 26 years of age, debuted, as you can see, at Most in the Czech Republic. That was a bit of a one-off in 2022, but this is a shame because I remember doing a chat with Ryan at pre-season testing in Jerez back in January this year. There is the confirmation that he's parting ways with Moto Corsa. He is here with his manager Roger Burnett. I saw them briefly pop into the media centre here yesterday, and we wish him all the best for the future. It also makes you wonder who will Moto Corsa, of course, be putting on this bike. Will it be Caricasulo coming up from Supersport, or somebody else? Time will tell. And ironically, he's actually following another customer Ducati there in the form of Taz McKenzie. That's some positive news, at least. It sounds like Taz will be staying with that team with new sponsorship, James. I know you've had some insight there, as you mentioned in our show back in Aragon. It's actually Jonathan Ray who's fastest in this session early doors. Jonathan, whose last ever dry win was here in 2022. He's had 2 since then, hasn't he? One at Phillip Island in Australia at the end of that season, and one at Most in the Czech Republic 2 years ago. But his last win in the dry for Kawasaki was here at Estoril when it was back at the start of the season, round 2 in 2022. Let's see what Toprak can do now. We had a 36.0 earlier on in the morning. The track temperature now obviously has increased, and it's a 36.6 for the reigning world champion. The track temperature now is 40 degrees Celsius, which is 12 degrees more than it was earlier on today. It's hotter than the sun here, absolutely baking out there.
It's fascinating. And Phil Maron, we had confirmation that Phil won't be going with Toprak to MotoGP. He will be working with Miguel Oliveira, it seems. So Miguel Oliveira will benefit from working with this great man. Is he going to be a world champion crew chief this year for the 3rd time with Toprak Razgatlioglu? We are soon to see this round or next round. It's all to play for here in World Superbikes, but it's definitely not over because Nicola Bulliger, this man's teammate, is on the pace. Alex Lowe's as well, talking about being on the pace. Alex Lowe's has been absolutely flying on the Bimota so far this morning and this afternoon. Alvaro Bautista now, he comes across the line. This is going to improve his time inside the top 8. It is up to 8th for the Spaniard. Alvaro Bautista, he'll want to have a good showing for the last 2 races in the official colours before he moves to Barney Spark team next year with Yari Montella as a teammate. But here he is, Nicola Bulliger with Jonathan Ray just behind him. What's this lap time going to do for both of them? It doesn't look like Nicola Bulliger's improving, but Jonathan Ray could, and he does. 36.7.
If Jonathan Ray is going to have one more podium to take him up to 265, and what a nice number that would be, James. Just with one more, it would be 265. Do you reckon he's got a better chance here, or a better chance in Jerez next weekend?
I think here, I think the stats prove themselves that you've just read out earlier. His last win here, he was on the front row in the wet last year. Let's not forget that as well. He was battling inside the top 3 in the opening race here. So you know, the chances are, and you can see, look, with the Ducati in front of him, he's not losing much ground. He loses a little bit of ground through these fast sections, but that's to be understood, because the Ducati, as we know, top speed is a little bit better than the Yamaha. But it looks like he's got the bit between his teeth, and more importantly, which I'm happy about, it looks like he's going to be able to get some really strong results to conclude his spectacular career.
And spectacular it is indeed. 465 race starts, 119 wins, 264 podiums, 44 pole positions, with some good red sector times coming in now. We're not going to get too excited about this because they're all setting their first fastest laps of this afternoon session. Bautista is up to 4th, but another thing they'll really be focusing on now is race setup, because we've got 2 long races and of course the 10-lap Super Pole race on Sunday morning. But in terms of the full distance races, they're 21 laps apiece, one of them at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, another one at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. It's coming up to 10 past 3 now, so similar conditions unless we have a big change in the weather as we did last year. A 1:36.4 then, James, for Budiger. I'm not going to get too excited about this, though, because the last 2 Fridays we've been getting all excited about Budiger trying to take on Toprak, haven't we? But Toprak's insisted afterwards that he was focusing on his race runs, and sure enough, it was proven in the results of Manicourt and Aragon.
Could there be a Jonathan Rea? Could there be a this man here, Sam Lowes, just getting up to speed now on the Mark VDS Ducati? Could there be an Alvaro Bautista or an Alex Lowes? Just get amongst them at the front to make it very, very busy, and also have the possibility where if you make one mistake, you're not just second, you could be 4th. And if Nicolo Budiger can win and Toprak finishes 3rd or 4th, all of a sudden this championship closes down dramatically. As Sam Lowes crosses the line now, this is going to improve things from 16th up to 6th, 10 positions higher.
Yes, just 36 points between the 2 at the top of the standings, and Budiger now on another very good lap as well. Fastest of anybody in the 3rd sector. Sam will stay with the Elfmark VDS team next season in 2026. Here's Iannone. He will not stay with this team, the Go 11 team, into the next campaign. Would it be the Superbike Advocates team coming across, as rumour continues to suggest? Time will tell. There's Budiger. Down the start-finish straight, over the line. He's fastest of anybody in Sector 3. What can he do in Sector 4? Yes, he does it again, and it's another 10th shaved off that time, and down to a 36.3. And that's only 1/10 slower than he managed for 2nd place in free practice 1 when it was 12 degrees cooler than it is now. So I think Budiger's made some gains, and we know, don't we, from the past, that the Ducati is often stronger when it is hotter. Rabat's had a good start to the proceedings as well, James. I've not seen Tito Rabat's name up in 9th place for a very long time.
Yeah, good shout. Could he only be going to Motocorsa now? Maybe into the Italian team with an Italian rider. That could be a possibility. We'll keep an eye out. And as he goes to 4th, Iannone, like in Aragon, showing some real potential. It's a beautiful livery, isn't it? The yellow and white, Pata-sponsored V4 Ducati, number 29. I hope he's on the grid, because as complicated a character as he is good as part of the show, isn't he? He just brings a certain thing, doesn't he? You always need a baddie.
I was just going to say, he's the villain of the paddock, and he was a villain of the paddock in MotoGP as well, and the 125s and the 250s, pretty much everywhere he's been. But like you say, you need a pantomime baddie, and he is now in 4th place. He's not been on the podium, has he, since Phillip Island at the start of the campaign. As Budiger, what a consistent run this is, James. It's not only rapid, but it's consistent. Every time he crosses the line, he's just a few thousandths or hundredths off where he was on the previous lap. And are we going to see a Jonathan Rea podium, I wonder, here in Estoril between now and the end of race 2 on Sunday? It could happen. Here is Budiger. What's he done this time? Even if he doesn't improve, he's still only 1,000th of a second down.
Brilliant consistency. This is on board with him, and as you can see, he's just trying to get his body weight as far back as he can on the brakes, and he was always wanting a little bit more room, wasn't he? You could see his rear end was pushing against the back of the seat pod. We know that he's lowered that bike down as much as he can, so he doesn't get too much transfer onto the front to allow him to brake in the same place as Toprak. It's worked, and it's working very, very well for the Italian right now. And another Italian, number 47, comes across the line. This is going to improve things maybe for Axel Bassani. No, loses out a little bit out of the last corner. He's just got Michael van der Mark just behind him. It's been a tough old weekend so far for the Dutchman. He's still down in 16th, 1 second off.
Been a tough old season so far, hasn't it, for the Dutchman? Poor Michael van der Mark, you have to feel for him. It's amazing as well how often you see it. When you look back through motorsport history, you can get one very dominant rider or driver in a team, and the teammate struggles so badly. And I don't know whether it's just that if somebody's particularly strong, they start putting all their eggs in one basket, James, and really get behind that rider as Bautista now slides his way through the Senna Parabonica. He's no slouch around this track either. He's won here in the past for Ducati. This is currently 6th, and he stays 6th, but that is his best of the afternoon so far.
Alvaro Bautista could help Nicolo Bulliger still win this World Championship. Because Michael van der Mark isn't able to help this man out, Bautista can definitely help Nicolo Bulliger out. As you see, Toprak putting the gloves on here, just getting ready for his second run, as Axel Bassani just tries to navigate the chicane. It's about 2/3 away around the track, the chicane, before turning 11 and 12 before the final one. But look at the big motor there, the Kawasaki ZX-10. I think there's a little bit more horsepower than grip at the minute on that big motor, as Toprak does exit the box now.
Toprak's podium run is absolutely incredible, by the way. Thank you to Michele Molino, the statistician. 87% of Toprak's BMW races he's finished on the podium. 50 races, James, out of 57 on a BMW since the start of last year, and he's finished on the podium. Bassani there, as you saw, did not improve, but isn't that amazing? In only 7 races Toprak started since joining BMW, he's failed to make the podium, and most of them, to be honest, are in Australia, aren't they, at the start of each of the 2 seasons?
They are. There's been 30 races so far this year, Greg, and Toprak and Nicolo have been on the podium 26 times.
What, together?
Well, in total,
wow.
their total
wow.
Podium places,
Wow.
finishes, 26 apiece out of 30 races.
Wow.
That's how consistent you need to be to win a World Superbike campaign.
So do you think that's where sometimes this longer season in terms of the number of races per weekend can actually go against some riders? Because the cream always rises to the top, doesn't it? And with the qualifying performance as well, determining the grid for the first 2 races, it really does open up a gap back to the best of the rest of them. We'll take a quick pause in a second, but we continue as ever on Discovery Plus. We'll be back with you very shortly on TNT Sports. Locatelli was about to improve, but as you can see, it looks as though he's ditched that run. Out goes the left foot, and he dives into the pits.
Yep, comes into the pit lane, sadly, does Locatelli. But at the moment in this session, this is the standings. It is Nicolo Bulliger, fastest, 1:36.307. He's 2.5 tenths clear to Jonathan Rea. Top right, Razgat Liolu has done 5 laps so far on the BMW M1000RR to 1:36.629. Andrea Iannone in 4th, with Adriano Bautista in 5th. So Ducati, 3 inside the top 5 is a very strong performance. Then we get the first of the Bit Motor squad. Alex Lowe's in 6th, ahead of brother Sam in 7th. Axel Bassani in 8th. Chavi Vierge in 9th. And Tito Rabat in 10th position as well. Andrea Locatelli in 11th. Remy Gardner's 12th. Heikki Lukanoa 13th. Garrett Gerloff goes 14th. Jari Montella 15th. Michael van der Mark 16th. Ryan Vickers 17th. Tant McKenzie 18th. Bahatin Tofagulu in 19th, Michael Rinaldi in 20th, then Toshita Nakashima in 21st, Ivo Lopez 22nd, Bobby Fong 23rd, yet to set a competitive time. He's going out there on the 5-lap pole, just on pit out this time by. And Daniel Petrucci declared unfit for the weekend, meaning we are down to just 23 riders for this weekend's event. Out of the last corner then comes Jari Montella up towards the line, and this will be trying to find where he's on our timing monitor actually for Jari. There is up into 14th position, 1:37.283. Top right, Razgat Liolu could go faster here over the line. Does he do so? From 3rd place up to the top on a 1:36.173 to the boys.
Minutes to go here in afternoon practice for the 11th of 12 rounds in this year's Superbike World Championship. James Tozen and Greg Haynes are with you, and Mr. Razgat Lioglu is absolutely flying again.
He is. Turn 13. Oh, that hooked up nice, didn't it? That looked absolutely beautiful from the BMW as he gets his chin on the tank. Is this going to be provisionally fastest here in FP2? Yes, it is. 36.1. Still a tenth slower than he was this morning, but I think with the track temperature increasing, I don't think the track's as nice as it was, as Phil Marron just jots that one down.
Not bad though, is it, to only 1/10, as you say, off that time, despite the track temperature being some 12 degrees hotter than it was earlier. There's Sam up into 5th position. Bautista's on a very good lap, actually. This is going to be very close to taking the top spot. He might even take the top spot. He's very good through that last corner. Lost a little bit of ground, lost a lot, actually. Lost half a second in the 4th and final sector. And ever since that weight's gone on with that ballast at the start of 2024, he's not quite been the same. Alvaro Bautista.
Aragon, I'm sure I heard an interview with him before the weekend started that he wasn't really going to take much notice of team orders. Is that going to be the case here in Jerez? Surely, surely he's going to abide by them if there is any. And you'd have to say there is going to be some. And this is him just getting himself around this last corner.
Is this going to explain why he's just lost half a second in the last sector, I wonder?
Just looking at his left-hand grip. Just really loose on the handlebar, a little bit of wheel spin there. Nothing major, Greg. No. I can't see anything obvious, but when you see Alvaro Bautista, he has his fingertips on the handlebar on the outside, on the left-hand side. Not that he's not gripping it within his hand, just on his fingertips. You can see Top Rack just loosening his fingers on the outside handlebar as well, just to kind of relax and also give you a little bit more leverage to hang off the bike. One of the techniques that we saw with Jorge Lorenzo all those years ago, he used to ride round with just his forefinger and his thumb on the handlebar, and the rest were kind of lifted almost straight to give him that body position.
And that is the fastest lap time of the race weekend so far for Toprak Razgatlioglu. He's replaced a 1:36.054 with a 1:36.010, and this is turn 1 at the start of that lap.
Did you see the front tyre squashed into the floor then? The profile completely changed.
Lecuona.
Kilos down, and that is down at turn 7, isn't it?
Turn 2,
isn't it? That's number 7, down at turn 2.
Oh dear, at least he's walking away, but the last thing he needed was another crash after coming back from that broken left arm. That's with the
there as well,
Iannone triggered incident back at Hungary, and it is fast indeed. Oh my goodness, he's lost it
one that is.
On the kit. I've never seen that before. Was that over the top of the white line?
Either he grabbed some brake on the change in direction, or the pads locked onto the disc as the front came off the floor, and look at that. Not much left of that 5-blade, is there? But that was a real strange one. I would be looking at the brakes on that Honda because something locked up as he changed direction.
Oh dear, oh dear. Now that is the kind of crash which really shocks riders. There was no warning there whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. Number 7, the 25-year-old from Valencia, could do about that. I'd like to see another replay of that actually from that first angle, because that was bizarre, with a capital B for Iker Lecuona, and he's hoping for a podium this weekend. Remember, as you said this morning, James, he did have a podium here last year on that Honda. He's down in 13th place at the moment, unlucky for some, and certainly is there for Iker Lecuona, who had his best ever MotoGP result, if you remember, in Austria when he finished 4th in the infamous Brad Binder race. And look how long you are on the pit lane for. If we were to get rain with a strange condition change over the weekend, and it can happen here because we're on quite high ground in the hills just down the road from Cascais, which is the luxurious suburb of Lisbon where all the rich and famous have their summer houses. As we said earlier on, Bernie Ecclestone has not 1, not 2, but actually 6 houses just over the hill here from the track. But we are on high ground, we're on the Atlantic, and you get a lot of bad weather coming on off the sea. I always remember last year, I think it was on the Saturday, wasn't it, when we woke up at the hotel and there were weather warnings, there was dark clouds, it was extremely windy, and we wondered for a while whether we might get any action at all on the Saturday last year. And then sure enough, on the Friday and the Sunday, it was beautiful sunshine again. It can change very, very quickly here.
It can. It was really foggy. The cloud was really, really low. I was watching the footage in the hotel room just to kind of refresh my memory of what's happened last year. As we watched Jari Montella manoeuvre his Ducati around the chicane, and he's got Tito Rabat clinging on. like bolted on like a caravan onto the back of this Ducati, and it's not doing him any harm whatsoever. He's still 10th, is Tito Rabat. Keep an eye on him. This here he is, number 53. He's not going to improve his lap time on this one, but the MIE Honda rider doing very, very well here.
Tito running some alternative leathers as well for some reason. I actually saw him in Barcelona Airport, James, on Wednesday, and he was carrying some leathers with him, not in a case or anything, literally, just carrying some leathers in his hand as Montella gets out of the way. And Tito's on another set of leathers now. Look, doesn't match the livery of the bike at all as he comes down into turn 2 where Lacrona's just had his incident. This is turn 3. Mick Shanley here, the technical director of MIE, watching on.
With the EXO as well, it's more stable on the
Just talking about the tyres there, the X looking a little bit more stable on the brakes for Tito Rabat. Yeah, Chammy there, just looking at the data, just to see if they can get a little bit more performance out. But this is a fantastic result, and Tito Rabat is once again on a personal best lap time. 0.7 will get Tito possibly inside the top 6. Oh, that's an unusual, rare mistake. Is the pressure just starting to build up here in FP2?
Well, Toprak finding the limits. Here we go again. Just talk us through this one, James. How would that feel? I mean, that looks spectacular. I don't even want to imagine what that feels like.
The initial brake, it just literally lifted really quickly the rear, and then Toprak had to release the front brake to allow the bike to then reset itself, and then that meant he was going too quick into the corner.
Yeah, was he distracted there? I'm pretty sure at the bottom of the screen I saw a flash frame of another bike, and I don't know whether somebody was just parked on the inside and it might have distracted Toprak as he was looking to peel into the corner. But Budiger, in the meantime, absolutely equal with Toprak in sector 1. 0.06 of a second inside him after sector 2. Now he's just shy of 0.2 down, which is why you see 0.1, but I can tell you it's actually 0.199. And let's see what he can do around this last corner. The Ducati's usually very, very good through this long radius Ayrton Senna Parabolica. I remember Jacques Villeneuve in a Williams Renault going around the outside of Michael Schumacher there in 1996. But what's Budiger done? He has improved. He's found some more time in that last sector and is only a 10th down on Toprak. Budiger's best time of the morning was a 1:36.2, so that was his best time of the weekend so far.
At the minute, Toprak's got about 1 or 2 tenths advantage on this man. And this is a tricky, narrow, gnarly, undulating circuit. Before I go into that, see what was Ika's saying about the crash.
Así, o sea, he hecho el cambio, he metido segundo, cuando he hecho así, o sea, estoy bien recto, en agua, una caída de agua.
Yeah, like he was on water.
Wet, right, like that.
Yeah, went into I selected second gear, changed the gear, and it was as though I crashed in the wet, he said.
Watch this, as he changed, like something engaged on the front. I don't know whether he had a bit of a tank slapper out of the last corner, which is where the handlebars can go side by side, which then can push the pads apart.
Well, that was the first time he's watched it back. Some locking after the engine brake.
No, on the brake. On the brake. So you know how hard it is into turn 1, Greg. From 200 miles an hour down to 30, you're so hard on the front brakes. Maybe the temperature of the brake and the pad, as with the heat, it might have on the acceleration then just engaged the front and stuck to the brake disc. But something definitely of that nature has happened there with that crash.
Well, it went down on his left side as well, didn't he, James? And that's the arm that was broken back in Hungary when Iannone caused all of that carnage and took half the field down, if you remember, into turn 2. I say, if you remember, how could you forget? It was a very scary accident, the biggest multiple collision we'd seen in World Superbike for quite some time. And that was Tom Jojic, incidentally, that Nick Air was chatting with, his Canadian crew chief. He's worked with the Roberts team before in Motorcycle Grand Prix, he's worked with BAR in F1, he's worked all over the place over the years, has Tom. Always good for a chat. He's also overseen several Moto3 World Championship titles as well over the years with KTM. Here comes Garrett Gerloff, one of 2 Americans in the field this weekend, along with Bobby Fong, who you will know, I'm sure, in very controversial circumstances, missed out on this year's Moto America title after going into the last round with a colossal lead. Gerloff does not improve and stays 15th with 17 minutes to go here in Portugal.
Yeah, more action coming in then in the last 17 minutes. The session is taking T-Pop for a quick minute break. Toprak still on top. He's a 10th and a half to Budiger, who's in second position. He's just come across that line. Last lap time 1:36.010. As we see several other riders having to continue on form right now as they come through the first couple of corners here at the wonderful Estoril circuit in Portugal. Our second visit to this country this season, and Estoril is a wonderful venue for motorcycle racing. Used to host, of course, Formula 1 racing back in the day. Ayrton Senna's first ever victory here. David Coulthard's first ever victory here as well. That fantastic Alain Prost and Niki Lauda battle for the 1984 championship. Everything sort of being here, having the battles. Prost, of course, was crowned here as well, wasn't he? By, if I remember correctly, Prost equalled the record and beat the record for most wins in Formula 1 here back in the day. Over the line then comes Gert Gerloff. He goes up to 11th place, 137.183. Over the line comes Andrea Locatelli. He goes up to 11th on a 137.119. Then next over also then comes the 17 of Ryan Vickers. So you're going to improve? No, stays where he is, 137.583. Over it as well. Next comes the 87 of Remy Gardner. Is he going to improve? Time, he's not looking too great. Stays where he is on a longer race run. Out of the last couple of corners then, the 53 and the 95 and Top Rack coming for another run. 15 minutes to go. Let's head back to the boys.
Toprak Razgatlioglu climbs the hill from the chicane here at Estoril with just over a quarter of an hour to go in afternoon practice for the 11th of 12 rounds in this year's Superbike World Championship, which he leads 36 points ahead of the Ducati of Nicolo Budiga. The BMW then makes its way down the 1 kilometre start-finish straight. Over the line now to start a flying lap. James Tosen, talk us round.
Here into turn 1 from 6, all the way from 200 miles an hour, all the way down to first gear. It is about 30 miles an hour into the dip into the first corner, then out through this kind of like just a bit of a kink there in the track before turn 2, third gear before you fire it down the hill into this 180 chicane here at turn 3. Up the hill here, all the way up to this next 180 corner, and keep it in second gear. You just drift out slightly into the mid of this corner before you cut back to the second apex, before you get the drive all the way down through this wonderfully fast kink, turn 5 here at Portugal, before you enter the infamous turn 6. This is where Danny Pedrosa and Nicky Hayden came together all those years ago, and it narrows. You can see how it bottlenecks into turn 6 before you fire it out of this double apex left-hander, over the crest, down the hill, second gear again, turn 7, very tricky, downhill, off camber, pushes the front a lot before you accelerate once again into this long apex, double apex for a right-hander before the chicane. Left, and then it goes uphill here, so you've got to get the momentum out of this chicane over the crest before you go into turn 11 here, the right, and then open this turn. Oh, and that's someone's crashed in front of Top Rack into turn 12, and then you come around the last corner, turn 13. It's Tito Rabat that's crashed. We'll see that, but that was wonderful to see. I hope Tito Rabat's okay, though. Out of turn 13, third gear, fourth gear for the BM, fifth gear all the way to top gear, down the start and finish straight here at Estoril.
Toprak not fazed by that incident for the 36-year-old from Barcelona, the 2014 Moto2 world champion. Tito Rabat running those different leathers, and he would have scuffed those up now as well. Toprak continues to head the session on a 1:36 flat. It is the best time of the weekend so far. Now Rabat's bike has been safely retrieved to behind the barrier. Tito looks sitting down. I hope the bike's just been retrieved to behind the barrier and didn't bounce over the barrier. We saw an incident like that at Alton Park, didn't we, the other day at Island Bend on the BSB weekend, but Tito looks a little bit shaken actually by that one. Now we're on board as we were at the time with Toprak. Look ahead down the road for the MIE Honda of Tito, and there he goes.
Yeah, it's just on the change of direction from right to left, and that's what Jonathan Ray was just struggling with a little bit, and it's fast into then. You can see the damage, extent of the damage to the MIE Honda. Nice to see Tito Rabat on his feet, though.
And as you saw, the bike ended up on the grass. Tito, tricky times for him at the moment. Not quite sure what the future is going to hold. He wants to continue racing on into 2026. I think the general belief is, though, James, his dad, who provides a lot of the backing, of course, Rabat, are world-famous jewellers, but particularly famous in their home nation of Spain. They're all over Barcelona. If you go down the Passage de Gracia, which is the Champs-Élysées, basically, the Regent Street or the Oxford Street of Barcelona. There's a huge Rabat shop there, and I think his dad's basically said you do need to find a ride for 2026, or it might be back home and hanging up the leathers and the helmet. But Tito is a racer, and he knows nothing other than racing, and I think he'll be feeling very lost if he's not racing next year. I've had some good chats with him about that in the past.
Well, all riders do. There is nothing more special than to ride a motorcycle around a racetrack at full speed. But he had a golden era himself in Moto 2, didn't he? Being the world champion, so he has been very fortunate to know what it feels like to be the best in the world in a category.
He's never really been the same, has he, since, for obvious reasons, that terrible crash he had in MotoGP at the end of the Hanger Straight. Remember, he got hit by another bike, didn't he? It was a horrible crash. It destroyed his leg. It was a nightmare for Tito.
Zarco or Baz? I can't remember which.
It was Loris Baz, wasn't it?
Loris Baz,
Loris Baz crashed. It was terrible conditions, wasn't it? Not his fault, but just unfortunately Tito got struck by Loris's bike.
The track had been resurfaced, and the actual mix of the asphalt, there was too much bitumen in the mix, and it was an absolute ice skating rink. Yeah. And the whole weekend got cancelled.
Yeah, the race that never was.
Yeah, like you say, you know, injuries like that, as we've seen in the past, there are a few injuries that you sustain as a rider that make it very, very difficult to ride at the top level.
Yeah, that was down, as I say, the end of the Hanger Straight, wasn't it, for Tito, into Stowe Corner. It used to be halfway around the lap at Silverstone. Now it's towards the end, isn't it, with the new layout, as we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years. So Locatelli's just put in his best of the afternoon so far and up into 8th place. Just behind him is Bahattin Sofoglu, who we've now been informed is running with a 2025 frame and swing arm, but still a 24 engine. Let's listen to Alex Lowe's. Perariba will be moving in for a chat very shortly, I am sure. He's currently 4th. Here comes Perariba. Saw Andy Levers to the right-hand side as well there, one of the British technicians who's come across to JB Motor now. He used to work with the Bonovo team with Garrett Gerloff. Very nice guy, Andy Levers, and great to see him working on the electronic side. He actually worked with Axel Bassani's crew, but of course they're chatting away with one another there in the middle of that garage. And this is the Senna Parabolica again. We've seen some great shots through there all day today from all sorts of different bikes and riders, haven't we?
Yeah, you could almost see in the slow-mo there with the traction control kicking in and the ignition cuts. You could almost see the tyre deflecting, the shape of the construction of it, the profile of it, should I say, to misshape it in the actual timing of the ignition cuts. It was really fascinating. That if I see that again, I'll try and point it out. But if you just rewind, if you got rewind on your telly, which I'm sure you have these days, just watch that slow-mo again, and you can see the traction control ignition cut being a certain resonation acting on the rear tyre, the resonation on the rubber itself. Here's Nicola Bulliger in exactly the same place. Obviously on the Ducati V4, it will have slightly different electronics, and it looks like it hooks up beautifully, doesn't it? But look at this, Nicola Bulliger. You need to go toe-to-toe with Top Rack this weekend, and you need to show that you have the pace, and that's exactly what he's done there. The first rider of the weekend to get into the 35s.
Okay, Nicolo Bulliger throws down the gauntlet ahead of his 26th birthday next Thursday. This man has exactly the same birthday, but he'll be 29, 3 years older than Bulliger. Top Rack will know because it will come up on his dash. P2, you could just see the red lights of his dash reflecting there off the chin bar on the crash helmet. Great shot there as Top Rack sat up, but he will not be very pleased to be down to 2nd place. He likes to end a Friday in the top spot, and this is VDM all the way down in 16th position. He's a 2nd down after the 3rd sector, which would move him up into about 8th place, but he does need to navigate this very twisty, technical, tricky 4th and final sector. Behind him is the number 49 of Tatsuta Nagashima, the Honda development rider who's making his 2nd outing of the season. His first was at round 1 in Australia. That was Nagashima behind on the red bike. But what's Van der Mark done? Is it anywhere near the top 10 as the Dutchman crosses the line? Currently 16th. No, it's his best of the afternoon so far, but he stays down in 16th place. Look how it's moving around underneath him. He's 1.6 seconds down on Bulliger, 1.4 seconds down on his teammate, Toprak Razgatlioglu.
When a rider loses his confidence, you can see that they are always behind the bike. And what I mean by that is look at the body language of Top Rack in this chicane. Look at how he goes from side to side, and his body language in his head forced the bike into what he wants to do with it. And when you've got a lot of confidence, that brings the bike on with you. When you watch Van der Mark, he's going side by side, but his body language is waiting to see what the bike does first before he acts on it. And that's the true difference that I can see visually as the Turk goes down the start and finish straight. And look at the consistency though. Lap 8, 36.0. Lap 18, 10 laps later, only 2 cents slower.
I believe Tito Rabat's now been given the all clear by race direction. He's just riding his MIE Honda back round on the service road on the inside of the last corner. So he's got to get back to the pits with 7 minutes to go to get the bike repaired. And ideally for MIE Honda, they'll get Tito back out in this session just to check everything's working properly and avoid a little bit of doubt moving into Saturday here when we have free practice 3. This then is Budiger on that 35.7, as you've already said, James, the only sub 136 of this event so far. There he is. He's right up behind Bahatin Sofoglu, number 99 on the Moto X Yamaha, and he just chops his bows off as they get down into turn 7, the Oreya corner. Then they're coming up to turn 8. Not many of the corners actually have names here. We've also got the Gancho corner, which is turn 9, the chicane. Out of the Senna corner comes Sam Lowe's. Behind him is the Bobby Fong Yamaha, Stockton, California, where Bobby is from, making his World Superbike debut this weekend, and that's 1 place gained there for Sam, up into 5th place. Is the target Jonathan Ray? Is the target Alex Lowe's, his brother? That's the next 2 riders in front of him.
Chevy Vieja also looking like he's going to do a PB here. This could get him inside the top 5 as well, Chevy Vieja. Yes. Look at that from the Spaniard. Ever since he's put pen to paper on a new Yamaha contract, has that just given him a little bit more confidence of the comfort as well of his future, and the rider can sometimes just be a little bit more relaxed, and that's a great lap from Chavi.
And Taron McKenzie has just moved up into 11th position. Brilliant. On his Ducati. He's having a really, really good run as well. I did touch on it earlier, James, but I know you've had a little bit of insight there, a little bit of intel. It sounds like it's looking quite good for Taz to stay with that team next year, we think.
I think so. He's got some help from the Mooresdale Foundation, which is a Scottish foundation, a brilliant collection from David Mooresdale, the Optical Express CEO, and obviously with the Scottish connections there, because that's in Glasgow, the Mooresdale Foundation. Please go and see the collection of cars and bikes that he's got in that place. It's absolutely wonderful, and he might be helping out Taz on seeing if he can get because he's into collecting bikes, and he might have got a deal where the V4 Ducati that Taz rides, he might be able to keep at the end of the year. So that could work out for both parties.
Well, that'd be nice. That would go alongside your 2007 Honda and various other bikes and cars, as you say, up there in Glasgow. Ryan Vickers, this is a great lap so far for Ryan. Exactly what he needs, and he's up into 4th position. From 19th to 4th for Ryan Vickers. And let me stress, he is learning the track here at Estoril. It's easy to forget that in his debut season. He's not raced or even been here to Estoril before. What a phenomenal effort that was from Ryan Vickers as he goes up into 4th position, behind only Budiger, Toprak and Alex Lowe's.
Brilliant. Ryan, hats off. Absolutely wonderful lap time there. When a rider's battling for his career, there's not a faster rider on track.
Jonathan Ray who ran wide at turn 1.
Yeah, hopefully he's not, he's okay. He's gone into turn 2 already. So this is warming up to be really, really interesting, Greg. We've got Bulega a quarter of a second nearly on Toprak, and with Alex Lowe's, Ryan Vickers, Jonathan Ravier, there is a plethora of riders that can challenge the 2 at the front. And any points obviously lost here, it could all change tomorrow and Sunday.
Well, this could be the closest midfield race for sure that we've had all season so far. There is only 1 second covering Ryan Vickers in 4th position, all the way down to Bahatin Sofoglu in 19th place. But I mean, those who are 0.9 down, for example, Sam Lowe's, Bautista, Iannone, Gerloff, Locatelli, they're all within just a few hundredths of a second there from 7th place down to 11th place. And it's going to change again because Bassani's on target for potentially even a top 3 to get ahead of his teammate. No, not quite, but it's still 3rd and 4th for the 2 Bimotor KB machines from Rimini. Well, this really could be a real mix. We could well have different manufacturers all filling the podium positions in the 3 races across the weekend here, as Bassani, former Supersport Challenge winner, the 26-year-old from Feltre in Italy, right up north in Italy towards the border with Switzerland, goes 4th. Now Sam is 8th, he might move up, he improves his time, but he stays in 8th place. Aaron Canet, we believe, will be joining this team in World Superbike, not next year, but the one after that. So we'll have to see what happens next year, though. Canet will stay in Moto2. Gardner's improved for 12th, and Buliger has a very nice slipstream there behind him. Needs to be careful not to lose time now. We're already nearly into the last 2 minutes of this session as Budiger actually pulls out of that lap. He was too close to the back of Remy Gardner. What's the Remster doing, James? Remy could do with a strong end to the season, and so could this man, because Iannone is actually, along with Lecuona, one of only 2 riders in the session who's not yet improved in his time from this morning. Lecuona would have done, but he had a crash, which James reckoned was caused by some sort of brake-related issue. What? No, he's lost too much time. Iannone's just lost 8 tenths in that 3rd sector, currently stuck down in 11th position. He'll get 1 more lap in.
Looks a bit nervous on the change in direction. It snapped round on him through that chicane, but he'll have 1 more go at this. It's only free practice 2, but this is very, very important to just see where your race pace is, where your consistency is. And as the tyre grip goes down after so many laps with the tyres, and as the fuel level goes down, you'll see how the bike reacts differently towards the end of this FP2 session. This is Garrett Gerloff. He's going to do a personal best lap time. Where's going to go? No, 0.9. He just lost a little bit on that last section, still in 13th. It looks like it's a 2-horse race again at the front with Nicola Budiger and Toprak. But the last place on the podium, 3rd, is really up for grabs between half a dozen riders. Bassani, Vickers, Ray Vierhi, Sam Lowe's, Locatelli, Bautista. They're all within 0.3 or 4 of a second off Alex Lowe's in 3rd. Here's Toprak. He's not on a quick one. He was just looking behind him. So is he going to push for 1 more lap? Because you can see with the clock, 44 seconds left, he will beat the checkered flag this time round. Doesn't look like anybody's on a personal best other than Jari Montella at this point in 16th. No, Toprak's coming in.
I know you're going to go and have a chat with Nicola Budiger, James, towards the end of this session. What are you going to be asking him? Because is it more to do with the setup or the psychological situation? As, like you say, Toprak does come in.
Practice start, Craig. That's what I'm a little bit worried about coming in at this point. He's not going to be able to exit the pits again, or unless he's going to go straight out.
Well, he's going to have to if he wants to, because he's running out of time.
Yeah, is he going to beat the clock, though?
He is going straight through, isn't he?
Is he going to beat the clock before that red light comes on?
Oh, it's going to be close.
And he's not going to be allowed out of pit lane in 4, 3.
Oh, just.
And that red light comes on now. Looky there. I don't know whether he forgot to do his practice lap, but when he came in, he obviously waved at the team and said, you know, he remembered just at the last minute. Very fortunate there.
So was that just a mistake to pit there? Why would he have done that? I've never seen him do that before.
Obviously, he wanted to come in because he had an issue with something that he didn't want to go and push for 1 more lap.
He thought he had more time left?
He had more time, a little bit more, but yes. Anyway, Ryan Vickers is on another personal best lap here, which on the 3rd split.
You could put him into the top 3.
He's got a slipstream as well on the Michael van der Mark. This could put him in 3rd on the grid provisionally. Oh, no, he lost it a little bit. But what a session that was from Ryan.
5th place for Ryan Vickers, as high as 4th with just 4 minutes to go. Well, I'm pleased for him, I have to say, because I don't think he deserves to be treated the way he's being treated for whatever reason it is behind the scenes. He didn't deserve to lose his ride, and he needed a second shot at it. So well done, Ryan, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he will be able to stay in the world's paddock, but he needs to find a competitive package if he can. Budiger over the line for 1 last time. Gardner was elated of Jonathan Ray and moves up into 9th place, but Jonathan Ray competitively and
top Yamaha.
Yeah, top Yamaha all day long here today, and he'll be popping into the box shortly to voice the onboard lap, which you'll see near the start of the programme tomorrow.
8th this morning, 6th this afternoon. Brilliant from Jonathan. I know it was a difficult backpack, he said on his social media, because he's staying out in between Estoril and Jerez, so it was the final time he's going to pack his bag with all of his leathers, boots, helmet, gloves and all the rest of it to come to a race event in World Superbikes before he retires. So it's all these emotions going through his mind, and it's not an easy psyche to just stay focused, as focused as you need to be to get the results at this level. When you've got all that happening, what's your life going to be like after the next couple of weeks, and what's it going to all contain? It's not easy at all to switch off and focus, but that's why he's a 6-time world champion, because he's done it brilliantly just then.
Yeah, he said a few weeks ago as well, didn't he, when the announcement was first made, it's going to be really weird to not receive my travel information getting ready for Australia at the start of next season, unless he's there, of course, because there are rumours that he'll be there as a development rider or a test team member of Honda or BMW. Who knows? He might not decide to do any of them at all. He might decide he wants a year or 2 off, a bit of a gap year maybe for Jonathan Ray. And he's been travelling the world and Europe for all of his life since 2009 onwards. So let's see what he does. I'm sure he will choose the best possible option and have a very enjoyable 2026 one way or another. It is Budiger though on a 35.7 in the hotter afternoon temperatures, 12 degrees hotter than it was this morning. who leads Toprak, the Tubi Motors, and Ryan Bickers. One of the laps of the day, without doubt, to move up there to 5th place.
It was really good result as well. So it's Bulliger, Razgatliolu, Alex Lowe's, Bassani, Vickers, Ray, Vierhe, Lowe's, Garner, Locatelli, the top 10 as well. Well, that's all the action from this session. Nicolo Bulliger has topped Friday running here at Estoril with a 1:35.778. What are we going to see tomorrow? Practice 3, Super Pole, and Race 1 for round 11 of the 2025 World Superbike Championship. We'll see you then from Estoril. Thanks for your company. We'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.